Yeehaw! There we go. Just love that. That music is so revving, you know?
Yeah. It, so, hey everyone, this is Yesshift. I'm Steven Schinder, and this is my dad, Dan Schinder. And today we are celebrating the birthday of Roger Dean. So, yeah, maybe y'all have heard of Roger Dean, an artist who's contributed a lot of stuff to a certain band that we talk about here. And we were trying to figure out what to do for his 80th birthday, something that wouldn't feel too much like the previous things we've done. So we were sort of ping ponging a couple ideas, and we decided to sort of talk about some of the non-Yes albums that he's done and sort of talk about what makes them different enough from Yes's art catalog that he's worked on, if that makes sense. Do I have that right, Dad?
Yeah, and we're familiar with a lot of these things. A lot of the Yes albums. We're familiar with a lot of these. I'm zooming in, just kind of moving around, just to imprint some of these in your head. And some albums that he's done other work for, there's a lot of differences, and some there's not many differences at all. But let's start with Asia. And if we think of some of the albums we just showed, as well as going way back to Fragile, Close to the Edge, Tales from Topographic Oceans, Relayer, the old days, and the newer stuff that you just saw some of, like from Keys Forward and whatnot. Let's see if we can pick out some of the things that are different. And I remember when the first Asia album came out, and that album cover is right there. Like, this is one of my favorite works of his. And I think in part because it was the first thing he did that I was familiar with after being familiar with his work with Yes. I had his first two big books that talk about stuff he did in tandem with Yes through the 70s and whatnot, but this was different. And the first thing that was different is, I think, other than Drama and other than the original Drama cover and other than Relayer had those tiny horses in the corner. Drama had the cats and the birds. There was no
Relayer also had the snake.
And the snake, right? There's no animal life that I remember. Mammals or reptiles or fish. So that's what made this one stand out. But I'll go back to
So I was thinking about that, and I do remember, like you mentioned, the horses, the snakes, and there are fish on tails.
Right.
But the thing is that the animal life, whenever it is present on a Yes cover, it's not shown as close up or as big as these other animals that we see on stuff outside of Yes.
Detail. Yeah. The cats are silhouettes, basically. On Drama. Yeah. And they're also more of this world that we're familiar with, as opposed to dragons and serpents and things like that.
Right. Yeah. For Asia, the dragon really became a symbol. Then from Alpha onward, occasionally you'd get the pyramid. So, within Asia, Roger was sort of building like some familiar, motifs to keep using now and then in Asia's catalog. And occasionally there'd be very different things, like the Phoenix on Phoenix, or on Omega, you'd sort of get the symbol of like the tiger's eyes and face. Right. And that's quite different. I can't really imagine that for a Yes album cover. And the thing that has always been said about the Asia art is that it was going for a more angular thing, more angular than some of the stuff you'd see on Yes in the 70s.
That's true. And the other thing is that this album, Alpha, is the first I can think of that we see real foliage from the world we live in, like the fan palms. Oops, I accidentally pressed the button. The fan palms, the palm trees back here we see, of course, in California, Arizona, Florida, and whatnot, and a familiar bird. That's what made this one different. Like, oh, that's familiar to me, but yet you got this thing and the pyramid, and so that was
Yeah,
kind of
and
a unique
like
blend
the
of
griffin.
world.
Yeah.
And then we've got
Oh yeah, this is Aria, which is an Asia album that came out in 1994. And for this, I noticed like the bridge or building thing in the background. It feels very in line
oh,
with the
sorry.
um,
So
with
sorry.
the feel of the Asia, the Roger Dean Asia art world.
Right.
Um,
And it
the
looks Asian too. It looks very
Yeah,
Japanese,
yeah,
actually.
the rock formation in the foreground. I feel like that sort of color scheme is not. It's kind of difficult to imagine on a Yes album cover. I can't quite remember if like this type of yellow rock thing has been used on one. I know the
I
Yes
don't
Years
think so.
box set had some yellows on it, but maybe not yellow rocks.
Union.
Yeah, Union has like some orange rock formations, a kind of Ralph McQuarrie-esque in a way, but yeah, like I feel like with these, he's able to make different visual identities for the different bands. And I think before getting on this call, you were saying that there might be more Roger Dean works outside of Yes than within Yes, which is quite fascinating to think about because he's done so much for Yes.
I think it's the thing that makes it fascinating to think about is if you're a Yes fan, Asia might be the closest familiarity if you're not familiar with the other bands, of course. But if you think about all these different bands, and we'll look at some of them, but just off the top of my head, Green Slade, Uriah Heep, Steve Howe solo albums, Rick Wakeman solo albums. We'll show some other really interesting things that some of you, especially if you're younger, well, that's kind of an assumption because Steve's a lot younger than I am. In fact, about half my age almost. Um, you may not be familiar with some of these other bands and other works, and some of them are really old. So you also see some throwback in the development of Roger's style as well. Wouldn't you agree, Steve? Like if you compare this to if I just jump ahead for a quick
Like
moment
yeah,
for
Astra to
to
I
like
forget.
that.
Yeah, Octopus by Gentle Giant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or that by Green Slade. Look at the difference. But we'll go through those and get y'all familiar with some of the other works. But yeah, Astra is interesting because it's also the first time, other than again on those little horses in Relayer, I think it's the first time we see a humanoid of some sort.
Yeah, well, it's not the first time.
It's
With
not.
Uriah Heep, you had those human
Oh yeah,
figures,
yeah, of course. I was
and
thinking yes, right.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, yes, there's also Yesterdays, but yeah, I guess if
Oh
you stick
yeah.
to just the Yes related stuff,
Here, you just do the show. I'm gonna just click the pictures because I don't know what I'm
no,
talking
no,
about.
but yeah, I do think you are onto something in that with the Yes album covers by Roger Dean. We usually don't see like a humanoid figure all up close. There
Right,
have
but
been occasions where we've seen them from like super far away on like the ladder or mirror to the sky. Um, and
right, but
yeah,
here's the thing I just thought of in looking at Astra that I never realized before. So this image here,
yeah,
you
of
see,
Alpha.
yeah, you see that theme, the dome, is brought forward in this helmet, and this is the first time he's mixed what seems to be a living being with the robotics the same way that he's done nature with mechanics. It's sort of
Yeah.
that same blend and the same blend of shapes and curvatures and whatnot. Like we don't even know if that's a woman. I mean, we don't really know. I mean, it's
Well, I, I
implied.
guess I guess I assumed because of the music video, but yeah, like the music video doesn't always necessarily
I guess the
give
music video could give it away, but
but
just looking at the album cover, which came first, I think, and
yeah.
it probably is. But my point is
Yeah,
that
maybe there's been some written text that says it might be a woman, but yeah, just looking at it, it's like you wouldn't know for sure. And I quite like the, the mixtures, like you mentioned, the different elements, the dome, the roboticness, the humanoid
Yeah.
thing.
It's the same theme as when he blends nature and mechanics. He's taking flesh and robotics, if you will.
Yeah.
And Gilly, good news. Thanks for checking in. Gilly says, happy birthday, Roger. Hope his health is good enough to see Freya and family in Tokyo soon.
Yeah, every now and then they'll share photos, like family gatherings once in a while, and it's always nice to see when those
Yeah.
happen. And Freya is a great artist in her own right
Oh my
as
gosh,
well.
yes.
I know people are like, maybe everyone's already heard about this, but 2 years ago we saw their exhibit, The Secret Path, and we got footage and we edited it together as like our own like little documentary thing, which I reposted on our Facebook page earlier today, and you can easily find it if you just type Yesshift Secret Path on YouTube as well. And lots of great stuff. Like seeing the artworks in person, it gives
Oh
you
yeah.
more of an appreciation of it all.
Yeah. The range of sizes the originals were produced in too is astounding.
Yeah,
Some are smaller than you would think, some are much larger than you would think.
right.
Then we got this Asia album. Very
Yeah, so that is Aura. Yeah. So again, this is from 2001, I believe. And again, carrying forward the whole pyramid with eyes theme, to let people know that it is Asia. Like you wouldn't see a pyramid on a Yes album cover.
right. And even if the Asia logo wasn't there, you would know from the pyramid and those Asian eyes that he's developed as part of the motif as well, that this is definitely an Asia album.
Yeah.
Even if you took these bigger eyes away and you just saw what was on the pyramid, you'd know.
Right. Yeah.
I like that color. That cover. It's a really neat color scheme, and the way you're kind of looking through fog, haze, and fuzz. That's what we're calling it. It's a combination of fog and haze, hazy fog, fuzz.
Yeah. I see Gil or Joey Good News says my fave. Wow. So that Aura one
Oh,
was your favorite? Interesting.
what's the name of that one, Steve?
Aura.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's right there on. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's right there on the picture. Yes, but some of these are without the titles, to be fair, so that we can
Yeah.
like see how they look without them. Like for the original Asia album, I was kind of thinking of this. Could you imagine if like the Asia Dragon were sort of twisted in a way where it looked like the Yes logo, kind of?
Oh wow, that'd be bizarre.
Like maybe its mouth is wide open and that's the top of the Y, and then the rest of it
Oh
stretching to
wow.
make the like that'd be kind
Maybe
of funny to do.
maybe they did that, and Carl said no. And then next,
Oh yeah,
this was at the exhibit.
gravitas.
Yeah, that was at the exhibit. It looked amazing up close. I mean, the detail. I know that's all fuzzy, folks, but the detail and the scales, the scales and whatnot. Look at that.
Yeah,
And the grass.
yeah, and like I've said before, this is probably my favorite Asia album cover.
Is it? I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
Interesting.
because I just love the details of the scales and the trees. And in our documentary thing, we I think we did like a close up view of the
Really close and
those are.
panned it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one after this is the Omega one that I mentioned, where it's like the iconography of a tiger.
Yeah. So
It's
different. This is the first real step outside the ethos of what was Asia covers. Like those developed, and then a right turn. It's just so different. But
yeah, I mean,
still,
as far as Roger Dean's stuff is concerned, because there were other Asia albums that Rodney Matthews did, like in
right.
between some of them. But yeah,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
This
And I
is
like
really
how
neat.
we incorporated the stripes into the logo for
Yeah,
this.
I love that logo. That might be one of my favorite color schemes of the logo. That is cool. It reminds me of a granite type of look as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of one of those camouflage outfits.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why I can't see it. and then
Yeah,
Phoenix.
yeah,
This has a lot of detail, nice color scheme as well. That was a lot of detail. Wow.
yeah. And this was quite a departure. Well, actually, I was gonna say it was the first Asia title that didn't begin with A, but that's not true. Like the one before this, Silent Nation, I think was what broke that pattern. And then when the original
Really?
Asia lineup reunited, they're like, okay, we're just titling these however we want type thing. But it
And
looks
this is
really cool. And I was really hyped when the reunion lineup announced this, the first of their 3 albums that they put out after reuniting.
and this is the this one. I think what did the Tiger one come out before or after this? I'm having a brain.
After this one.
So then this is the very first one that just has a logo and a subject and no background, no canvas of terrain or scenery or anything. It's just the bird and the logo. Whereas
Yeah,
the other one's the tiger and the logo.
yeah. As far as I can recall, it does in a way kind of remind me of the first Yes album and the Open Your Eyes album, where it's just the logo against a black background
Yeah.
and reddish, orangish.
Yeah.
All
This
right.
is the neat one for Downs Braid Association. I love this one. I think I remember on his vlog, oh, we watched this one kind of come together, right?
Yeah, he was doing painting sessions live on Facebook a while back, and so
This is
people
amazing.
got to see this whole thing like come together, and it was really cool.
The embers coming up from the fire floating up. This has so much life and movement. The glow of the lights inside the dwellings, the starry sky. This one's fascinating. This is maybe one of my favorite covers by him. I really love this.
Yeah, I think this one is maybe more so than some of the others we're talking about. I think is less different from what he's done for Yes. So maybe it's because the stars sort of remind me of Mirror to the Sky as well.
And the
But yeah,
rock formations and stuff.
yeah, like I could kind of imagine the rock formations on a Yes album. Like I'm kind of struggling to think of like what are some of the major differences.
Yeah.
I guess the like sort of spectrum thing,
I'd
like
say the vivid coloring.
yeah,
Yeah.
the colors in the sky, I guess you could
Yeah.
say.
But the rock formations actually remind me more of something tied to Rick Wakeman's Return to the Center of the Earth album.
Okay, yeah.
It may be Union.
They also kind of remind me of one of the other Asia covers we looked at. I think it was Aura with the spire and like the details on that. So yeah, it's cool how Roger Dean has sort of these recurring architectural themes
Right.
throughout
The
his work
windows.
for various artists, but they still feel like they're for that artist.
Yeah. I love this one. This just
Yeah.
feels so fresh. The greenery and everything, and the water reflecting.
Yeah, this Downs Braid Association album that has like the it reminds me of like Hobbiton, because the whole default
Yeah.
of people living in green hills, but it doesn't look one to one. Like it very much feels very Roger. Um and yeah, I kind of feel like the pathways sort of blend into the scenery in here, whereas in other
Yeah.
things they stand out a bit more. Like there'll be white pathways, but here it's like it feels very much part of the thing.
Right.
And this is Skyscraper Souls, another Downs Braid Association one. This is
Totally different. It's so much
yeah,
more of like it's so muted and whatnot. It's almost like silhouettes, if you will, that are colored. And then it's the logo and the title that jumps out at you. Totally different formula.
yeah. Like I can't imagine slash remember a Yes album that's had this type of look to it. It looks really cool though, and it's almost like looking inside of a cave, and the cave is like made of watercolors type thing.
Yeah.
It's very unique. Um, oh,
Then we go way back in time. This
oh,
style is very different from pretty much any Yes album. And the detail, this is Channel Giant Octopus. and the
Yeah,
detail in this is great. So this is way back in the early 70s.
yeah. Like we said, these things outside of Yes feature certain creatures like more up close and they look bigger. But I kind of wonder, like, do you think this octopus might be swimming in the topographic ocean, perhaps, like in
Whoa.
the same
Never
world?
thought of that. Or the serpent in the first Age albums at the top.
Yeah.
The
I see
serpent.
a couple interesting comments.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
Visualize Prague says one that people forget is that Dean did the cover art for John Lodge's first solo album, Natural Avenue, in 1977. Lodge is still using the Dean logo for his current post Moody Blues solo career.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and Deaky says DBA is one of the most, quote, yes, unquote, bands besides Yes itself.
So, Steve, I want to ask you something about that because and thank you, Diki and Visualize Prague. You're more familiar with Downsbury Association's music than I am. How would you compare their closeness to Yes music versus this?
That's a good question because,
There's so many eras of Yes music, first of all. So, what are we comparing? But overall, what do you think?
well,
What's your take?
from what I remember, especially on their most recent album, Celestial Songs, they feel like a mixture of prog and ballads, maybe a bit of pop. So, in terms of how close to Yes it sounds, maybe to me it sounds not as close as
Closer
Deaky
to
feels,
Asia?
but no, I don't know. It doesn't feel too close to Asia either to
Okay,
me.
good.
It sort of feels like its own thing, basically. There might be traces here and there, but to me, like, I don't know, it kind of feels more like its own unique entity. Yeah,
Cool.
I don't know like how close it would be on a scale from like 1 to 10. It just feels really different to me. But we
Interesting.
all take in things differently, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, this
Um,
is one that was in, I believe, his first book. This is Green Slate, and I remember seeing this and just being tripped out by it. This is really, really provocative. This just look at that.
yeah, I think that's their album Bedside Manners Are Extra.
I
Um,
believe so.
yeah, definitely a darker background, which I don't think we really see much of with Yes, these dark colors.
Yeah.
Um, and I do remember, Tony Kaye's End of Innocence, really dark looking, very different from his other stuff, and fits the subject matter, but it's like so different and whatnot. But with Green Slate, they emphasize the this person who has a green face and arms. Like this person has like 5 arms. Like what's it
Well,
really takes
I
you to another
looked this
world.
up, this sign language, and at first it didn't make sense, but you have to read it from right to left instead of left to right because
Oh.
he's signing as if he's right to left, so it's left to right for us, but it says buy my printed copies now.
Oh my gosh. I really thought you were like sharing some trivia that I didn't know about. I totally walked into that one.
But this is, I love, if you take away the subject, which is fascinating enough, let's examine the back. Whoops. If I click too close to the margin, it switches. But let's examine the background and the logo. So there's the logo, very Roger Dean-esque. It's almost liquidy, right?
Yeah.
Similar
It's
to the
like,
first Yes logo, but look at that. It almost looks like wood grain. I've
yeah.
seen rock with like wood grain esque kind of looking to it. Those look like they're the end of like trumpet tuba bells, exhaust pipe type things or vents you'd see on a boat. Good grief.
Yeah, I could kind of see that.
Yeah, just kind of zoom in a little bit more.
Yeah, it's
And then
almost like you
another,
got the inside of a tree in the background.
yeah. And then you got these other dwellings that look more natural in our
Yeah.
world. And then you've
Yeah.
got this, which is sort of a combination of some other
Yeah.
things you've seen in
So
there.
this is Dave Greenslade's Cactus Choir. I thought it was kind of strange that the title has cactus in it, but it's not a desert. So this
Yeah,
huge contrast. Um, the rocks in the background and the gray colors feel very relayer esque, but this type of this figure here who's pointing doesn't feel like something within the Yes
not at
album
all.
art universe.
Right,
Um,
not at all. It
yeah.
evokes a whole different sensibility. I love the architecture in this one.
Yeah, you got like similar curvature of like the rooftops on here that he uses in some of the other things we've
And this
shown.
again looks very Hobbiton and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And it's from that era, basically, if I remember correctly. This is early mid
Yeah,
70s.
this is mid 70s.
Hmm.
And Relayer came out a year or two before this, and he was Tolkien inspired for Relayer. So yeah, maybe there is something to that.
Yeah,
And
there's
this is
that
the
guy.
original Green Slade album.
Right. Look at the background. We get the waterfall. Oh, sorry, folks. We get the waterfalls similar to the water coming off the rocks in the middle of that little island in Tales.
Yeah, and I always thought that this figure was like floating on top of smoke, but maybe that's not the case. I'm not
Look
really
at
sure
that
if it's
formation
smoke.
coming out of the water. See that down
Yeah.
there?
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was smoke or water or rock
Oh,
formation,
and
but
see the book is being held up. It's like grown out of this stone that's coming up from there. See
okay.
that? So his
Yeah.
legs are crossed. He's sitting on like a bench. Here's a leg of the bench. Here's a leg of the bench, and then like a podium type thing holding where he puts his papers. I guess
Yeah.
maybe he's a
So
conductor and he's
it's
conducting music.
yeah, so I guess it's another example of, mixing elements as if they are one thing, kind of like what we were talking about with Astra in a way.
And is this the first one and maybe only one where there's light shafts involved from sunlight? I can't think of
Um
another cover that has that.
there might be others. I'm can't recall exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
Here's
Let's see.
Bella Greasy is saying, hello, fans of great art and music in the first comment. And then just tuned in. Have you covered Roger's architecture? Always wanted a Dean pod. We haven't covered his architecture on its own, but we are covering the architecture that shows up in album covers. The theme for his birthday this year, Bella, is comparing the nuances that make his work outside of Yes different from the work he's done with Yes. And we're going alphabetical in different bands orders, and we're up to Green Slade now. And this might be the last Green Slade cover. And then we
Yeah.
go to yeah,
Yeah.
Osabisa. There's some really neat things here. This is one of the more modern ones, if I am correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that one came out in 2009. So it looks more modern, but still has that elephant imagery. And with Yes art by Roger Dean, sometimes we would get winged, bugs like on House of Yes um, or on Greatest Video Hits. Yes Speak also has the Beatles, so sometimes you get some insect looking wings and stuff, but not necessarily a big animal mixed with that type of thing.
Right. Let's get a close up of that tree. Different. And the tree in the background. I love how he creates depth of field with making the stuff in the background so much less vivid in color. That it gives it distance, even if
Yeah.
there's not a huge thing of haze like that one Asia album that we pointed out.
Yeah, I like how it's an above view, which makes it sort of different from the other Osabisa things that we're about to show here.
Yeah, and actually, Visualized Prague is mentioning, suppose Dean had designed a cover for Going for the One, but for some reason John wanted to work for Hypnosis. We actually show that album cover in the documentary that we made that Steve posted earlier today. And that was 2 years ago this October, next month. Well,
Yeah.
it's almost September. So about a month away from now is the 2-year anniversary of us filming and making that in San Francisco. So check
Yeah.
that out. Maybe Steve, when we're done, you can pop the link to it in here as well. But
Yeah, well, we've definitely talked about that
yeah,
artwork in one of the Roger Dean things we've done. I think it's called Flights of Icarus, and it's like this floating island against a blue sky.
yeah, yeah,
Um, it's kind of funny how we talked about how usually Roger Dean's Yes covers don't have like a human all front and center, and then not going for the one that's what they do.
with a bare ass
Yeah.
for parallels. Get it? Two
Yeah.
parallel buns, the parallels in the buildings, the parallel stripes,
Right.
and then we've got this is
Tank heads. Yeah.
yeah, this is one of my favorites of OCBSA, as well as what I believe is their first, which is coming up.
Yeah,
Um,
this one, the tank heads one, I think might be more recent, like mid 2010s. It definitely looks more recent, and again, the mechanicalness, like here and in Astra, is something that we wouldn't really see on his stuff for
right.
But
Really interesting. Neat color scheme. That color scheme alone is part of what is setting it apart from anything yes related, other than later on Union kind of has some of those colors. But if you look at the foliage at the bottom, that's kind of like what you would see beach scrub as opposed to desert scrub as you go to the away
okay.
from the shore of the beach. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
anyone ever been to the
Yeah.
beach
Whoa. All
in
this time I thought this was a desert, but now I can see how it is. It could very well be a beach. Like you
yeah, it
have the
looks like
water
that
in the
white
background.
line could be the
Yeah.
horizon of a wave coming in.
Wow. Clearly I haven't looked at these like long enough.
Oh, and look at the shadows have ripples as if maybe they're walking in shallow water or it's
Yeah.
wet sand.
Yeah. Wow.
And
And again, like we usually think of Roger's works as being very fantasy, but he has done some very sci-fi things over the
yeah,
years, especially in the 80s. And yeah, so he's done more than just one genre. Um
absolutely.
and this is the I think the second Osibisa
Yeah,
album. Well, yeah, you got that red elephant with wings and its
like
tusks.
dragonfly wings.
Yeah, and there's like some sort of reptile in the corner.
And then it
Uh,
looks like all swamp with the trees.
yeah, I feel like if one were to take a quick glance, they might think it's just grass, but yeah, like it very much looks like a
Looks like
swamp.
in Louisiana, the bayou where you see the murky branches. Murky branches popping out.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's what that is. Or branches coming out of the murky water. I like
Yeah.
this. I like that a lot. Two
Yeah.
things that make
Red and
this,
green are complementary colors as well. Yeah.
yeah, and it's so well done that we almost take for granted that, oh yeah, the the elephant type thing has claws, talons, it has bat wings type of ears, it has very slitty eyes and some sort of pentacles at the end of the trunk. I mean, in all, it almost looks nothing like an elephant when you really put it together, break it down rather.
Right. Yeah. It gets so much of a mixture of things that it feels so different from what we originally were calling it.
And if you compare the logos of his Yes logos, Osibisa, and Green Slade, they're similar but different enough to where they're totally recognizable, but in the same
Yeah.
style, more so than Down Sprayed and some others that we'll see as well.
Yeah,
Where he
like
gets
he'll
into the
he'll do
jagged
the
lettering.
yeah, like he'll do the thing of connecting the letters, but they
Yeah,
won't always be the same type of shape. Like it
right.
varies a little or a lot depending on the artist. And there's the first Osibisa cover.
Yeah,
Yeah, that flying elephant thing looks very angry, like ready
it
to attack.
does.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing like angry faces on Yes album covers either.
Right. And look at the difference in the tusks. These are more curling inward, whereas these are not. So I like
Oh
how
yeah,
there's differences. He's not just like using a template and trying to make the animals look all the same because in reality they don't all look exactly the same, you know.
yeah. I can actually imagine this type of color scheme, for the yellows and pinks and stuff for a John Anderson album. You know, like I think there have been a few that have been kind of like that. So it's yeah, I don't know. It's something that just reminded me about that.
I love this one too. I remember seeing this in person. It's in our film that Steve posted earlier. It is
Oh
breathtaking.
yeah, this is from the re-released Journey to the Center of the Earth, Rick
Yeah,
Wakeman's
the
album.
the work with light is incredible. When you look at the light and shadows on the spire, you get the light coming out the door and the shadow being cast because the stairs curve. I mean, so much attention to thought of that's one of the things he's a master at is working with light and depth of field. You know, you can clearly tell that that other stuff is way in the background, and I just love that. It's such a great technique that goes way back to his earliest work.
Yeah, so what would you say makes this one pretty different from what we're used to with Yes?
The absence of soft curved lines,
Okay.
mainly. That's the biggest thing for me, and the
Yeah, and
jaggedness of the rocks, and you've got more busyness in the and there's a guy right there
maybe
with a
the
walking stick.
concentration of the line work as well, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look how much detail went into just that water in the crescent waterfall, and then all of this is just look at that. How much
Yeah.
I want to know if this is one of the ones that took him the longest to do, or maybe he just got in such a groove. This was easy for him. I don't know. And then it was a matter of just touching it up with the different colors for the light and shadows. This is one of my favorites of ever. And you got the rock bridges still in the background there. Or we'll scoot
Yeah,
over
it's
there a
it's
little.
one of my favorites too.
Yeah, this is just brilliant. I love it. I'd love to get from him a book where it's his complete anthology that if he could remember about how long each one took and what the biggest challenges were for each one and what came the easiest for him. That'd be a great book, Roger. Come on, get with it. Put it out.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he'd journal those types of things, but I don't know. So sometimes, I've worked on things and they take me a certain amount of time to complete, and I don't really take detailed record of how long it
Yeah,
takes me to
because
do
you're in the
them.
groove of doing it. Same here, totally.
Right.
This one, of course, it looks so different
Oh yeah, this
without the
is
title on it.
Return to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah, this is in the film, and this was on a like an interior wall as you're walking through the maze of a gallery, and we turned the corner, and as we turned the corner we had to turn around and go whoa, and it was right there, and just it was
Yeah.
enormous. If I remember, I was like 4 by 8 feet or something like that. It was huge.
Yeah, I remember mentioning before that it wasn't until that exhibit that I fully appreciated this cover, because if you look at it like just on a screen or on a CD or something, the background feels very flat, but if you see the thing in person, it's like you realize the depth of the whole thing.
And again, it's about the light and shadows that make this so realistic.
Yeah, our zooming into it on here doesn't do it justice.
Nah,
Like
it's getting
you'll
muddled because of the pixelation and whatnot. But and then you got the foreground light on the rocks. Like all these rocks back there are probably this color and everything, but they're just not in direct sunlight.
Yeah, these rocks also, because of the way they're lit, that type of yellow kind of remind me of that Asia Aria album we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and now let's go to
Yeah,
this
and
is
this is
another night.
the re-released Myths and Legends of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
It's interesting because you'd think because of the title, the knights would be more overt, and they're almost subliminal. They're almost Easter eggs.
Yeah, there's like a couple on horseback on the bridge, and there's one that's like in that tree there. So it feels a little bit like relayer. You even have the gray, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Could this one have been a Yes album cover, or do you think it feels too specific to this Rick Wakeman album?
Um, I I I can't think of a title it would tie itself to, other than maybe Relayer because of the warrior aspect in it.
Yeah, like maybe if they did a re-release of it with like extra art or something.
Yeah, but it definitely fits it for Rick, and we show this one in great detail in the film as well. And when I say in great detail, we had like a camera lens, if I may, if my hand was the canvas, like literally the camera this close, and
Yeah,
really looking at the detail, you more in focus than you'd be able to with the naked eye that close. Well, for me, mine anyways.
right.
Dave Watkinson says, boing. All this work is just better in the canvas. You guys need to get to Trading Boundaries in the UK one day. We would love to. But Dave, I don't know. Have
Yeah,
you seen the film that we did? Steve posted it earlier. We did it 2 years ago this October at the Roger Dean and Freya Dean art exhibit in San Francisco. And we saw so many originals there. So it might be very, very similar, like that in a road show, if you
mhm,
will. If you haven't seen that, Dave, check it out. We'd love to get your feedback.
yeah.
It's good.
I'd
If it's
love
good
to go
feedback.
to. I would love to go to Trading Boundaries in the UK if I ever
I'd
get the
like to go to
chance.
UK just to have a Guinness, even though I'm not supposed to have Guinness. It has too many. Anyways, another. So here's where we start to get into, even though it wasn't shown on the two previous album covers, the different fontul. I call it
Yeah,
fontalizationism.
and this is an upcoming one. Rick
Yeah,
Wakeman, Yes Sonata,
this
and
is great.
it kind of looks like a like even though it's Yes related, like it's his Yes medley thing that he's put out on vinyl, and now due to high demand, it's getting a CD release as well.
And for those who don't
But
know, it's his way of showing off that he learned how to play the banjo. It's just banjo. There's different tracks of banjo, but it's just banjo, no keys.
yeah, that's not true.
And
Um, but yeah, I was just gonna say, even though it's a Yes medley, it feels so different from Yes. Like it feels like a throwback to the 70s, but looks more like something he might do for Uriah Heep or something.
yeah, and I don't know if you know this, Steve, but this here is a bring back from this is on the cover of, if I remember, it's on his first book, going up the
Oh, that reptile thing
yeah,
that's
going up to
limited?
that thing. And that's like how I learned to draw paths and cliffs
Yeah.
from the cover of that
I
book,
think
except it was
there
red.
might that might be a red one, or I could be
Yeah,
misremembering, but
no,
maybe
you're
it's the
correct.
same type of creature.
Yeah, you're correct. It's the same thing. It's got the same saddle with the spoiler roof on it and everything. But I also
Yeah.
love, got to give a shout out to the root work and the trees and the. I mean, this is just fascinating. The realism is so good. And Dave said that he did see our uh, film and it sucked, but everybody's different. So
That's
no,
all I
he said it's great. He likes it. Thanks, Dave.
say.
Um, Steve Howe album. It's
Yeah.
interesting to see this so many years forward in context with everything we just saw. I mean, I have the album back there in a cabinet, but I don't remember the colors being so gray and everything. Are they on that?
There might be a couple different versions,
Yeah,
but
I think so. I think mine's tinted
because
a bit more bluish or has more
yeah,
color in
like
it.
I've seen a bluish one,
Then
so
that's fine.
I
Okay.
wasn't sure if that's like depending on the release or if certain websites are doing weird like
Countries sometimes.
recolorizing or something. I don't know.
But look at the rock work again, detail, 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 the foliage along the path.
Yeah, so what makes this one different from Yes in your view? Because I was kind of struggling with this one.
I think the absence of curves and softness that we typically see, whereas these are more angular rocks with cracks and
Mhm.
crags and crevices.
Okay.
I mean, it's got to
Yeah.
be like a biologist, a botanist, and a geologist, and there's some others I can't think of. A reptologist, what is it for bird? Like all of those things, you got to study and have examples and stuff to really know how that works, so that when we see it, it resonates with our reticular access system in our brain that goes, oh, yeah, I know that, but without consciously saying, oh yeah, that's a this kind of palm tree, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the rocks do remind me a little bit of Tales, and the water does kind of remind me of Drama, but it doesn't feel like the exact same thing.
You guys say
Um,
drama like Trevor Horn, drama.
Drama.
Like it's from Washing. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And my logo's a different color scheme also. So that's a different release. I love that. Steve
Yeah.
Howe Anthology, a whole other new font utilizationism.
Yeah, and the architecture looks very different from the type of
It,
things you would
it
see on the
almost
Yes
looks
album.
very green slate-ish. If you
Yeah,
look
I could definitely see that. Yeah,
how
because
it gets fatter towards the top.
yeah,
It's like,
because there might be a little bit of Asia in this, but yeah, I can see the green slate of the architecture as well. Yeah.
and if it's a solo album retrospective, who are those two people? Is that him and his wife? It looks like could be man and woman, or a man and another
Or it
man in a
could
cloak.
be a couple fans just trying to get into
Oh,
Steve Howe's
stalking.
music.
Yeah. Waiting for him to come out. Yeah, that's really neat. And then you got this repeated theme of these pointed spires throughout, whereas this is
Yeah.
different. It's narrower at the bottom.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's an anthology of Steve's career, which would include stuff from Yes and Asia and maybe GTR, like some demos and things. I'd have to look at the track list
I don't
again,
know. It says solo
but
career. So I don't think GTR or Asia. It says solo career.
oh, okay, maybe I'm thinking of Anthology 2. I think Anthology 2 has
That's the other.
some
That would
band
make.
stuff as well, but
Sorry, I can't raise it up enough, folks.
at the very least,
There we go.
there might be solo demos before they became band things, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, for his solo career anthology, it's cool that he went with something that's different from what we'd expect from Yes and Asia and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got. This I just love. This is
Yeah.
the double album gatefold open on the outside. And this I've always been so enchanted by these things that are so unfamiliar, other than looking partly like jellyfish domes and
Oh
brain.
yeah, they are jellyfish like. Yeah, this is Steve Howe beginnings. This one that we're looking at is like, I guess before you get Steve Howe himself added into the thing.
Right, but also
Um,
this is where we first see the geology and architecture blended together. That's what
yeah.
all of that is, and it is just fantastic. The curves and the lines and like what is see, you have some things that look so familiar, like the foliage and the paths and stairs, but then you get this stuff that's otherworldly, and it all kind of comes together and it feels so comfortable, and the softness of the this is one of my favorites as well. I just love this.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this how we've already said that for Yes album covers, we usually don't see a person, and we also most certainly don't see, the band members themselves integrated into the Roger Dean
I think
art.
we've only seen it in this album.
Yeah, like can you it's hard to imagine like them being integrated onto Fragile because it's a planet, so it's like how do you even do that?
Yeah.
Close to the Edge, I guess you have them on the back cover, but that doesn't really
Yeah, that
fit
doesn't
the
count.
same type of
Those are
thing.
inlaid photos, yeah.
Tails, you might be able to do it given the space, but I think and maybe even on Relare, but I think that would maybe make the artwork look too busy if you have like all 5 band members on there. Whereas for beginnings, you just have Steve Howe and it works because it's like, hey, look at this guy. Check out all the things he can do on this album. He'll knock your socks off. And he really does, like with all the stuff
Yeah,
he plays
this
on
is
here.
one of his best work when it comes to working with lines and the integration of geology and stairs and rather architecture. Even the thing in the background, you see that terrace. I'm going to zoom in on that. There's a whole other dwelling thing by his neighbor, I guess, or maybe that's where his studio is and he lives there. And for those not familiar with this, what's in there is Steve playing a guitar, and he's got like five other odd stringed instruments surrounding him. And I think if I remember right, he's playing his dark green Gibson 335, and then he's got a Valkyria and some other instruments around him. But yeah, this is a great cover. There's some comments there. Uh, Still waiting. What does that say? Dave says, still waiting to live in one of his houses. Yeah, absolutely. And Bella's asking if we have a Discord. We do not have a Discord.
I think that would be too much for me to manage personally.
Yeah, for those who don't know, and I'm not offended if some don't know, but we also have another brand that's a very big international brand called Drum Talk TV. We have followers from over 100 countries, and Steve's the man behind the scenes, the producer and the chief content officer. I'm the face of the brand. I do most of the interviews and run the company and stuff. And I don't think we would have, even with our team, we don't have anyone on the team to say, hey, can you run the Yesshift Discord for us? It's just a little too much to give attention to. So consider this that where you can all chime in with comments and have discussion and everything. So thanks for your interest in something like that. Maybe eventually we'll be able to grow into something like that. And Robert Nasir says, well, I would never judge John and Deborah harshly for the true album cover. If that's the cover John wants, more power to him. I happen to love it. I do recall as a young'un how the Roger Dean album covers and art enhance the listening experience. Happy birthday, Roger Dean, and thank you for making this magnificent music even more of a power, visceral experience. That's a great way to put it. Thanks for that,
Yeah.
Robert. Hope you're well. Love seeing your posts online as well.
Yeah,
And
the
Kelly,
art definitely adds something to the music listening experience.
yeah, what a cool word. Use this in Scrabble, and it's like 42 points.
Oh yeah,
Add a Z, and it's another 13 points.
architectonic.
Yeah, that's such a great. Oh, I love that, especially if there was a video where like these things are slightly moving, like shifting like tectonic plates. And Prague Cog on YouTube says, oh, the Budgie album covers are awesome too. That's right.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we have those in this assortment. Darn. But you're right. Those are brilliant as well. Let's move on from this one.
And yeah. And this is from the early 90s, Steve Howe Turbulence.
And honestly, this is so different not only from Yes album covers, but from anything I've seen Roger do. I don't know if I'd know off the top of my head this was a Roger Dean album cover, but I'd be suspicious slightly by the font, slightly.
Yeah,
so this a departure from his typical variety of where he's known for visually.
Yeah, because it looks like what he might have done was get a paintbrush and sort of swirl it around, which fits very well with the Turbulence title.
Yeah. You get moved.
And this would have been around the time of the Yes Years box set, which had like those little paintbrush print things. So I think he was kind of on that type of kick at the time. But other than that, yeah, I can't really think of anything else he's done that's like this.
Oh, I remember this from his book. This one's great.
Oh, yeah. Demons and Wizards by Uriah Heep.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember it, like seeing the full thing of this. It really adds more perspective when you see like how small of a portion of the whole thing the wizard and the mountain are.
And now it's just, is it out there in space, or are we catching a glimpse of one dimension meeting another? Because you got the stars and it turns into rock. You got a waterfall to nowhere. I think it's two different universes colliding or something.
Oh, maybe.
And he's got the butterfly wings. That is so cool. Like, what a great idea. Yeah. Maybe it was a cape at first. He said, I'll make it butterfly wings. Who knows? It looks, I love this one. He's throwing stars out there. Stars or stardust or something. This is just, the concept of it is great. And again, we get his classic waterfalls.
Yeah.
Flow, the movement of the water. That's a great one.
Yeah. And I'm also going to read a few comments from when I posted before the show and people commented. I asked what people's favorite non-Yes Roger Dean artworks are. Doug Curran said Badger, White, Asia Alpha, Steve Howe Beginnings, Paladin Charge, Green Slade's first album, Uriah Heep, The Magician's Birthday. Oh yeah, The Magician's Birthday one
Yeah,
has like a lot of red, and that's like very different from what you'd expect
yeah.
from Yes. It kind of reminds me of the Ralph Bakshi movie
Oh,
Wizards in a way.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Julie Good News also mentioned Aura by Asia earlier. Let me
Is
see
it
if there.
Chili or Gilly? I think it's Gilly.
I've heard it both ways, so like I really don't know.
Let us know. And I don't know if it's a male or a female, but if a word starts with a G, it's typically a hard G. Give, got, gnat.
Well, what about Genesis?
That's true. Alrighty then.
I see more. Okay, here are the other comments I was looking for. Kevin Kilner says definitely the Osabisa one, fabulous cover. I assume Kevin means like the original Osabisa album. Hans Van Hangel or Hangel says Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards. Dan Farrell says One Life Badger. Eric Vanderwood says Osibisa. Luis Paul says the Osibisa ones are cool. Wow, there's a lot of Osibisa love.
Yeah.
And Joe Strickland. Okay, so the original Asia album, Baba Rogue, I'm not really sure what that says. And One Life Badger, Green Slade, Steve Howe Beginnings, the first two Osabisa ones, Spring or the John Lodge one, Steve Howe album.
And it's Gilly.
Oh, okay. Ann Wilson's
And
album
it's a male.
more recently.
Sorry to interrupt you, Steve. I thought that was newsworthy. Thanks. Cleared that up. Wow.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That's a good
you're right.
I didn't even think of One Life Badger, and that's a nice cover.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of great stuff. I'm making sure I went through all of.
I want to give a shout out in the comments. Progcog says hi back to Bella, who said hi to Progcog. Thank you both for joining us so much. And also Visualize Prog, same. And thought I saw something else that might have gotten skipped over.
Was it this one by Visualize Prog?
Yeah. I recently discussed with a friend the question of, quote, what current bands should have Roger Dean covers who haven't so far, unquote, close quote. Some of our picks were mostly Autumn, Magenta, and Wobbler, and I'm not familiar with any of those bands.
I've heard some, mostly Autumn. I remember first discovering them in this documentary we watched a long time ago called J.R. Tolkien, Master of the Rings. Roger Dean and Rick Wakeman had a couple brief interviews in that, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And, there's a section of the documentary that mentioned Tolkien's influence on music, and it showed a snippet of mostly Autumn performing. And I've heard like maybe at least one of their albums a long time ago. But yeah, they're really cool.
That's interesting. Yeah, Tolkien did have such a huge influence on music and lyrics. I mean, all the way to Out of Prague completely to Led Zeppelin with a few songs, you know.
Yeah,
Misty Mountain Hop is about that. In fact, that's what that song's about. It's sort of socialized or modernized in, the lyrics sort of say one thing, but it is about jaunting through the Misty Mountains.
Yeah, and I mean Rush as well with the Necromancer. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Bella says Magenta is a must hear. Okay, I gotta put these on my list of bands to check out then.
Same here. Yeah, are they weed or mushroom necessary or not necessary? Kidding.
Right.
All right, and then we've got, for context, for those who don't know, we were comparing likenesses and unlikenesses to Roger's style working with Yes and outside of Yes. In this one here, I see a lot of similarities in some of the other work that we looked at. When you look at the forest, I'll call it forestry foliage, things like that.
The type of rocks, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at the
again.
Yeah, we're looking at like the bottom 3 rows that are on the discography section over on Yes World. So it's some of the more recent releases, from songs from Sonkas to, I think this goes up to The Quest, because Mirror to the Sky was like alone by itself in the row below this, and it was just easier to screenshot it the way that I did it. But
Yeah.
yeah. The Royal Affair tour one is one of my favorites. I love the dark sky and the, those rock formations. You could kind of see some similarities between that and some of the other things
Yeah.
we talked about. Come to
And I
think of
missed that. Why didn't I go to that? You went to that. Why didn't I go to that? Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't I don't remember what you were up to at the time, but
Did we must have lived in Arizona. There's no way we lived in Vegas.
yeah, because that was 2019. Yeah.
What month was it? Do you remember?
Well, the one I saw in Irvine was in July, I believe. It might have been a summer thing, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I thought you saw it in Vegas too.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, okay. So that makes more sense that I wouldn't have gone.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any Yes concert in Vegas. I did see ARW in Vegas, and that's about it.
And Rush.
Yeah, but Rush aren't Yes, so
No, they're Rush.
no. But yeah, their concert was incredible. Just the stagecraft and the
Which one?
diverse set for Rush.
Yeah. Yeah. We're talking about the Clockwork Angels tour was truly amazing.
Right. But,
very cool.
Yeah, happy 80th birthday to Roger Dean. Got such a diverse art portfolio.
Just a couple quick notes here from Gilly. Magenta, excellent. Robert Reed and Christina Booth. Highly melodic blend like Oldfield and Yes.
Oh, that's
as
cool.
well as Magenta. On his live Spectral Mornings featuring Dave Longden and Peter Jones. Watch. Okay,
that might be a YouTube link or something.
Oh, got it. Okay, we'll check that. We'll dig into that. Yeah. Hey, maybe we can start a whole new show about those bands.
Please no.
with our mountain of available time. And we both wore Roger Dean art shirts.
Yeah, I got the Royal Affair tour shirt, which has
and I always thought
John Lodge and Carl Palmer's ELP Legacy.
I always thought this was interesting to take the logo. What am I doing here? To take the logo and add what seemed like could be patterns from either fish or feline, in the Serengeti, or reptiles. It's hard to tell, but it's definitely reminiscent of animal shapes and things like that, this is one of my favorite logos because of that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah. Happy birthday, Roger. We'd love to get you and Freya on together or separately. Just love your work. I hope you've seen our film. If not, maybe we'll send it over. And folks, thanks so much for following what we do. Stephen and I here on Yesshift, the simulcast on Drum Talk TV. Thanks for watching, folks. And you can follow us here on Yesshift at facebook.com/Yesshift. Yes. YouTube.com/@Yesshift. And on anchor.fm @Yesshift if you're just a listener. But if you're just a listener, all this amazing artwork you would have missed out on. But we do appreciate you listening if that's where you're hearing us.
Right. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and got lots of great stuff up ahead. So yeah, we'll see you all again soon. I'm very excited for what's to come.
Oh, not only Adam Wakeman, but today we just found out John Anderson, October 8th at 11 a.m. Pacific US time. So watch for that. 7 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Eastern US, 11 a.m. Going to have John on for a few minutes. And we're thinking of the one question we're going to ask him. So far, I'm going with cream or sugar or black.
No, but yeah,
we'll have more than one question.
No, but yeah, that's the time we were offered. So it should be happening. But yeah, if anything changes, we'll let you know. But yeah, that's going to be very exciting.
We'll be posting about it. So there you go. John Anderson here on Yesshift. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Talk soon. If you're in America, have a great holiday. If you're not in America, just have fun anyways the next 3 days and chill, relax, break away from it.